Support and resistance is one of the most important concepts you need to master to become consistently profitable, but almost no one uses it correctly. Most traders open a chart and simply start drawing levels at random. Every swing high, every swing low, every area the price touched twice. And that's the problem. It's not something repeatable or profitable long term. You have no way of knowing which ones actually matter. That means inconsistent trades, random results, and no real edge. Now in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to find the right support and resistance levels and absolutely nail trades at those points. So when it comes to support and resistance, the way you've been taught is probably correct, but it's missing something critical that quietly keeps your P&L chained to the floor. See, the general advice is to find areas where price reversed multiple times and to mark major swing highs and lows. The idea being that price has a higher chance of reacting at these levels, which makes them great entry and exit points. And this is true. If the price reacts to a certain point on the chart more than others, it usually means that it's an area with a lot of interest from buyers and sellers, and therefore it's likely to react again at that point in the future. But here's the problem. The chart is full of these places. If you look closely enough, everything can be a support and resistance level. You can end up marking virtually the entire chart. And not only that. Even if you do manage to find a few decent support and resistance levels and they work, it's not something you can repeat consistently. Imagine if we fast forward a year and I show you this exact same chart. You've probably forgotten about it at this point, and if I ask you to draw support and resistance levels, you're not going to draw them the same way. The charts are identical, but the levels are completely different. How do you know which one is the right one? Well, you don't. It's all subjective, and it depends entirely on your mood that day, your thoughts, and your opinions. You can't build anything consistent off that, let alone consistently profitable. So when it comes to mastering support and resistance, it just takes 3 steps. The first step to mastering support and resistance is to standardize your support and resistance levels. And what I mean by this is to have a clear procedure in place that tells you exactly how and when to mark support and resistance levels. That way your process is always the same, and you always mark your levels exactly the same way. Because you're probably looking at your chart and trying to find important areas, but you don't know how far back it matters. You don't know how many times it needs to be tested to be important, and which levels to prioritize. But standardizing your levels is quite simple. You just need to keep these 2 things in mind. Number 1 is that only the highs and the lows matter. And by this, I mean the absolute highest and lowest points on the wicks. Not anything to do with the bodies of the candlesticks. They're a specific price point, not an area. Number 2 is that the most recent levels are the most important, and after a certain point in the past, they actually become irrelevant. This is contrary to what you've probably heard, which is that older support and resistance levels are stronger or matter more. And this is simply not true, especially for day trading. It's the same reason that yesterday's news matters more than the news from a year ago. The news from a year ago is completely baked in, so it's not a high probability level anymore. All the business that needed to happen there already happened. When it comes to entering and exiting trades, recent levels give you fresh information, and this makes them useful. Older levels are fuzzier and don't give you clear information regarding targets, entries, or stop losses. So they're pretty much useless to use in real trading. They just look cool in hindsight for the 1 out of 10 times that they happen to react to the level. Now, when you keep these 2 things in mind, your trading process becomes standardized. You're only looking at recent highs and lows. And that means if you're day trading, just 1 day back at most. Ideally, a few hours back or less. You're looking at the current price at the open and waiting to see if recent highs and lows hold or break. That's the standard process. It's the same thing you repeat every day. You're not looking at the price 6 months ago. You're not trying to find random levels where the price held before. You're just looking at your current price and recent highs and lows nearby. Now, the question is, how do you know which recent highs and lows to use? What if we have multiple? Well, that's where the second step of mastering support and resistance comes in. And that's to only use support and resistance levels when they're in supply and demand zones. Now, supply and demand zones and support and resistance levels often get confused for being the same thing, but they're not. They're completely different and most only use one or the other, but they're actually way more effective when you use them together. You see, support and resistance levels are points on the chart where the price has a higher probability of stalling or reversing, And you find these points by looking for previous highs and lows, because these are areas where the price reversed before and where the price is likely to reverse again. Supply and demand zones are areas on the chart with heavy volume and trading activity. This is where institutions actually place their orders before they move the market. And these zones are extremely useful in telling us where the price is likely to move to next, because institutions need a lot of liquidity to fill their orders and move around, and they can only do this by finding high volume areas to fill those orders. So you'll see the price simply moving from one level to the next with very high accuracy. And I'll link a video here that tells you exactly how to find those zones for you to watch after this. But supply and demand zones are great news for our support and resistance levels because it tells us exactly which of them matter. I mean, think about it. If you're looking to go long and you want the price to break a resistance level, how would you know which one to wait for? You don't have a real way of telling which level is the right one and which one isn't. I mean, you're looking at a flat chart. There's no info you can get out of this that will help you determine which is the right level to wait for. Because if you enter at the first one, you might get a better risk reward, but you might also be too early and be wrong. If you enter at the later one, you'll have a worse risk reward, and you could still be wrong anyway. You can't objectively tell which one is real and important and which one isn't. But if you add supply and demand levels, then you can see exactly where institutions are hiding. From there, you can know the precise place you should enter from to confirm a break higher. And in this case, we see that the price does enter the supply and demand level, breaks the first resistance, but doesn't fully break out of it. It gets rejected before it can break out. And that's because it didn't clear the institutional volume here first. Because there's a heavy concentration of buyers and sellers here, and especially sellers who went short before. If the price were to break above this point, it means that buyers were strong enough to push it there in the first place, which is a good sign for buyers, and also that all the sellers who went short here are now underwater. So at that point, sellers here would mostly panic and close their positions. That means they would have to cover their shorts by buying. Short covering adds even more buying pressure to the mix. We have strong buying pressure from buying volume, and we have buying pressure from covered shorts. This stack of buying pressure is what causes an explosion of buying. And that's what gives this enough fuel to actually move to our target. But that would only happen if we actually broke above the key supply and demand level. So to recap step 2, support and resistance levels are mostly just noise. To find the ones that actually matter, we only consider the ones that are within institutional supply and demand levels. And by the way, if you want me to walk you through exactly how to apply this inside your own trading, join the LCE Accelerator, where I work with traders one-on-one. You get weekly group calls, a private chat with me, a custom indicator, and a community of traders who keep you accountable. The link's in the description below. So that brings us to step 3, which is to only trade support and resistance breakouts in supply and demand levels. So this is the actual setup that we trade. Once we've marked our supply and demand zones, it just comes down to trading the right setup. And the key here is to only trade breakouts, meaning when the price breaks above a high or breaks under a low. We don't want to be trading the failure to break a high or low. In other words, we don't want to trade reversals. And the reason for this is simple. We already know the mechanism behind a breakout, as I explained before. We know that if the price breaks out, we have buying pressure from buyers and buying pressure from sellers, and vice versa if we were breaking under a low. So we have the same momentum coming from both sides, and this makes it really clear regarding the price's direction. It's very likely to continue moving in that direction, and therefore a high probability trade. But the same isn't true the other way around. If the price goes up to a resistance level and gets rejected, we don't have as clear of a direction, because unlike the buying and the short covering, we don't have market forces aligning here. A rejection of a resistance could mean that the price fully reverses and breaks down, and that would make a pretty good trade. Or it could also mean that the price keeps ranging, or that it consolidates for a bit and then attempts to break higher again. The point is, we don't have that alignment like we did for the breakout. We don't have a clear structural break like we would if we broke a high or a low, so the outcome for a rejection is much less predictable. We can also call this type of trade a mean reversion trade, and it's the exact trade we're looking to avoid because of its lower probability. When it comes to breaking a recent high or low, what you want to do is look for the most recent one. This could be 30 minutes before or a day before, but ideally not further than that. and you want this high or low to be at least halfway into the level or more. The closer to the edge, the better, because that means once it breaks, the price has fully broken through the supply and demand zone and has a higher chance of continuation. The middle of the level or before is not as strong of an indication, because there's a higher probability of ranging or choppiness before we finally break through the level. So we're looking for breakout trades, specifically in supply and demand zones near the edges, and breaking above a recent high or low. Just repeat this every day, and that's it. That's all you need to master support and resistance trading. Now let's look at a real trade. So this is the 5-minute chart at the 9:30 open on ES futures, and we see that the price is opening in a supply and demand zone. So what we want to do here is wait for a breakout toward either side. We either want the price to break into the zone above, then break a resistance level, and then go long. Or we want the price to break into the lower demand zone here and break a support, and then go short. We don't care about anything that happens in the middle. I mean, the price could range here for 2 hours and we wouldn't even look at it. We only care when the price breaks into a supply and demand zone and then breaks a support and resistance level within that zone. So for now, we just wait for the price to do its thing. And we see here that the price broke into this upper level, but just briefly touched it. We didn't break any previous resistance here, so this wasn't valid yet, and the price drops right after. So entering at this point would have been a bad trade. We don't enter just because the price breaks into the zones. We enter once they've firmly broken support and resistance in the zones. So if we continue from here, we notice that the price bounces back up and enters the zone more aggressively this time. Now at this point, if we look back at other points in this level, we see that we have a few resistance levels nearby from yesterday. This is close enough to be considered important. If they were resistance levels from 2 weeks ago, they'd be irrelevant. We would have to scroll back a while to see them anyway. So the question is, which resistance level do we use? Well, remember, we want a level that's over halfway into the zone, and we also want the one that's closest to the current price. And if we look at this one, it's the closest to the current price, and it's in a supply and demand zone, but it's not more than halfway into the zone. So this one wouldn't qualify. The next one is this level right here, which is closer to the price, but more than halfway into the zone. This one fits all the criteria, so it would qualify. This is going to be our reference point. We want the price to break this level before we consider going long. Now, if we're trading this in real time, we would simply need to wait for that to happen, and we get a clear signal on the next bar, which is telling us that the price is ready to break out. Now, most traders would look at this and think that it's a parabolic move and that it's overextended. They might not enter, or even worse, try to fade it. But we know better. We know that buyers are strong here, and we're about to break out of a supply zone, which will fuel the move to the next zone. So we're going to enter long as soon as we break the level. We're going to target the next supply level and place our stop loss under market structure. If the market drops under this point, we know this is most likely a failed attempt like the previous ones here. From here, our job is finished. The market is going to handle the rest. We just wait until it hits either our stop or target. Now see what happened? We broke above the high and almost immediately experienced a squeeze higher. That's how the market works. Once you've identified key structure, then all you need to do is position yourself properly and let the market do the work for you. And this is something you can repeat every single day to find high probability trades. So to recap, the first step is to standardize your levels, which just means wicks only and recent highs and lows only. The second step is to filter those levels using supply and demand zones, because you're not trying to pay attention to every high and low on the chart. You're only looking at the ones that fall inside a zone and completely ignoring everything else. And the third thing is to only trade the breakout. So when price breaks a recent high or low inside a zone, that's your entry, and that's the only trade we're taking. No reversals, no guessing, none of that. And if you do those three things consistently, your support and resistance trading is going to look completely different, because it stops being this random subjective thing and actually becomes a repeatable process you can run every single day. If you want to go deeper on this, the LCE Accelerator is open, and the link is in the description below. I'll see you in the next one.